we get started? What do you think? Thank you for coming. This series is wonderful. I always learn something important and I go home and talk to my wife about it. Seriously, that's what a good education does. It gives you ideas and food for thought for something to talk to somebody else about it. So thank you for coming. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about the practical upside of a liberal education. And so this is going to go all over the place, but that's okay. So hopefully you get some energy, or if you hear one or two ideas from any talk and you can take that home with you, that's the secret. That's the secret. So to begin to look forward, we need to look backwards. So here's how I'm going to start. Liberalism and a liberal education has some of its roots in the Renaissance of Europe in the 1500s, a time of challenging the Catholic Church via a rise in the power of humanism, that individuals have the power to think and to learn to figure and act for themselves. Individuality was celebrated and grew, and demonstrated in some ways by Martin Luther. He challenged the very real corruption and became a criminal to the Catholic Church for using the newly invented printing press to disseminate his ideas and to publish them and allow ordinary people to free themselves from the absolute dictates of the church. For it was Luther who translated the Bible from Latin into ordinary German so that ordinary people could free themselves to read, understand the Bible, and become, as he said, monks unto themselves. That freedom, that opening and power of the individual is at the root of the meaning of a liberal education. The Renaissance embraced what it meant to be human. It's to be free. But this paper isn't about that history. This is about, when am I ever going to use this? This being this experience, or this degree, or this knowledge that you're pulling in. Let me speak plainly. I will ask you, what harm comes in the long run from ever knowing something? The truth is sometimes painful, but it's very real. You can handle the truth. Most truths are worth knowing. Most of all because it's what will happen. Give me the real any day. I want to know the truth, even if it hurts. I want to know if God exists. I want to know what happens to you after you die. I want to know all kinds of things. That's what curiosity does. It keeps us growing. It keeps the world light. It's exciting and open and keeps us looking for something new, fuller, and broader. We must try to remain open all of our lives. I would argue that a great deal of more harm comes from not knowing something. Ignorance isn't bliss. It's generally painful. Give me a flu shot any day. I've had the flu. The pneumonia I got almost killed me. I think that's what's going to kill me. When you read, it's either going to be he choked on a sandwich or he got pneumonia. It's going to be one of those. Seriously, it's going to be something like that. Immunizations aren't perfect, but give me the shot. Immunizations aren't perfect, but truly they're worse than the practical implications of their avoidance. That is, many sick folk and deaths. In 1985, I remember this quite profoundly when I was in school, 3 students died of complications from measles at Principia College, a small college near St. Louis. It's a Christian Scientist school, and they don't believe in medicine, but prayer and faith to heal things. After students got immunizations, no more people got sick and nobody died. Knowing and acting have consequences. Knowing and admitting you don't know, humility and truth are very important too. We're not gods. We make mistakes. Being imperfect allows you to proceed with caution, intelligence, and, here's a little history, rather than being like Custer at Custer's Last Stand. In 1876 at the Little Bighorn, arrogant but very dead is what he ended up being. His defeat was so humiliating they never told his wife what a boneheaded move he made attacking thousands of Native Americans with a few soldiers. Old Goldilocks, who graduated last in his class from West Point, didn't listen to those around him. He worked not knowing and wouldn't listen to people who knew more than he did. Several of his Native American scouts actually took off their uniforms when told they were going to go fight that fight. Custer confronted them and said, "What are you doing?" They said that the attack was a deadly mistake, and if they were going to die, they wanted to die with their native garb on. Custer was so disgusted with their attitude, he forbade them to go fight that day. All of those boys survived. Custer and his men didn't. He found out the larger truth. White people reported that natives had a little more jump in their step for a couple weeks after that, from hearing about that win. So, you're operating in a framework of more than just luck. Being curious and open to new data cuts down on the arrogance and the harm from proceeding blindly. Mistakes aren't failures, but information about how to proceed. It's new data. Socrates, the great philosopher of Athens, always claimed that he knew very little. It allowed him to discuss great subjects like love, utopia, religion with great minds, and to find progress toward a coherent, largely newly agreed upon conclusion, rather than bluster towards simply attempting to dominate or overcome or win over an opponent and find some pre-decided truth. A world that operates on thuggery and power and dominance is not a world most people want to live in. Logic and science demonstrate that there are things that are outside of our opinions that everyone can witness. This is quite profound. There should be reasons more than prejudice or tradition about why you tell other people how they should live, think, act, or be. I'm somebody bathed in liberal education. I want to know, and I, like you, I can't tell what I need to know. No one does. More is better. Like the Boy Scouts say, be prepared. Plus, finding out is amazing because of as Dr. Seuss said, the places you'll go and the people you'll meet. So thank you, Dr. Seuss. I want to tell you to come on in. The liberal water's fine. Liberal here means opening to freedom, more options, remember that. I want to know about everything, and to learn about everything is something I thrive on for a variety of reasons, but more on that later. I love school and the opportunity to learn from all kinds of people. I want to job shadow everyone. I don't want to live forever, but if I did, it would be because I could always learn something new. I want to take welding, just because it's useful and interesting. Why and when did your curiosity get stomped out? When did it go away? Overworked, busy, discouraged? Why? What happened? Actually, I'm going to flip back to this. This is B.F. Skinner. This is just a nice quote. No one ever asks how to motivate a baby. A baby naturally explores everything it can get at, unless restraining forces have been at work, and this tendency doesn't die out, it's wiped out. What happened to your curiosity? What happened? Where are you? We need to thrive and develop these things in our culture. We need to take young people's hands and lead them to this. So what happened? How can you get that feeling back? Let me suggest you find your way back to it with others. Hang with interesting and curious people. It rubs off. Pay attention to and join the dialogues going on in school and society. Take those risks. Balance work and play. The following is a story and an argument about why liberal education is one of the best things you can do for yourself personally and career-wise. As many of you know, I've said many times in class, I use the somewhat overused toolbox metaphor to speak to students about what they should do with their college educations. I think it's useful. By that I mean, when you arrive here, you have a certain set of skills that by the time you leave, if we have both done our jobs, you are overflowing and bristling with new experiences, confidence, and more tools than you came in with. Again, I want you to become the Swiss Army knife with lots of tools to be prepared. The right tool for the right job also makes tasks and life easier because it does less damage. Knowledge is power. Not knowing how the world or people work or things work is frightening. Often this is when magical thinking can take place. It fills in what you don't know and can become dogma or worse, unthinking or even willed ignorance. Knowing can bring some sense of safety and peace to life. If you don't know how a car runs and you merely turn a key and that's what happens, and under there is simply magic to you, when it breaks, you're at a loss. You're dependent on others and powerless in that situation. If you know what a system is and you can check, is it the fuses, is it the battery, you might be able to fix it, or at least have a sense of what needs to be done. And also have confidence that this is a system and it's fixable. That's something we have to remember. Most things are systems and fixable. Maybe by something you can easily undertake. There may be a YouTube video on it. I can't tell you how many times I fix things from YouTube videos. I learned how to play guitar on a YouTube video. Things break, but usually repairs can be made. Knowing can bring helpfulness and hopefulness. Things aren't hopeless, though we can easily feel helpless and hopeless when we feel we have no option or idea or solution. Knowledge brings a confidence and power. Humble confidence can mean that you can place your energy on things other than worrying about what you don't know or understand. If you don't understand it and you're curious, hey, you can learn it. Once you have the confidence to learn and have done that, your life will be better. Life is a constant adjustment to what changes. Thank you, the Buddha. Once done, though, it can become a practice. And I'm not afraid of change or difference. It's just something new to experience and learn from. It's an opportunity, not something to fear. On the practical level, you also might have a sense of the price of the fix for the car, and you will be less likely to be exploited in that case. Look, I always say take every psychology class you can. Knowing about how people work and understanding that there's some principles that are commonly universal amongst people, and working to allow yourself to put yourself in someone else's shoes make you likely to become more sympathetic, more understanding, more helpful, and hopeful. Maybe somebody's acting that way because they're depressed, not to just make you mad. Knowing your own children's developmental cycle is important for being able to give them what they need when they need it, so they may fully develop and not just operate out of your wants and needs and limitations. Realizing your own difficulties and the signs of problems within yourself may give you a better chance to work them out, or at least the opportunity to. If you have some idea what's going on within yourself and others through things like psychology, you may be able to figure them out and how to help yourself or somebody else. Police and judges, and well, everybody would do better to work with people understanding the challenges of mental illness and support its funding, so that police would know and act with restraint, understanding that a person may not be criminal, but merely as somebody with a mental illness. Or knowing how depression works may simply save you or somebody you know's life by asking questions and supporting them to seek help. Knowing what challenges and hormonal changes and individualizing all teens go through would help any parent realize that some of the turmoil and eye roll reaction, got a lot of those, from their kids are common. They're not just personal. They're not there to just make you angry, but a way that your child is trying to become independent and an individual. It's not personal. With a psychological background, you're less likely to be completely befuddled by someone's action. You won't say, well, why did they do that? But more likely to say with compassion, I think I know some of why they did that, and a better idea of how to help or connect with them. Psychology is our cultural book that comes in the glove of your... Psychology is like that book that comes in the car. When you buy your car, you have that little book in the glove compartment that nobody reads, right? But that's the book that tells you how your car works. And that's what psychology and sociology are. They're the books that tell you how you work. You should read those books. You're in for a lot less trouble and confusion and a lot less mystery and fear about yourself and how others work if you just see people as a surface and they just act and you have no idea why, no wonder the world's frightening and a mystery to you. And there are principles of why things work in a certain way, right? A liberal education is one of the things that can help you understand some of that. Imagine if you knew more about biology, sociology, astronomy, physics, philosophy, cooking, how to draw, how to paint, how to cook, accounting, medicine, politics, the trades. All of these are simply going to make you more adaptable, less fearful, and lots more fun. The best time is when these fields of knowledge cross-pollinate and overlap. You can cross-pollinate ideas from a variety of areas. Have you ever traveled with somebody who knows the history of an area? It's fascinating when somebody knows something. It's better than just looking at rocks and trees when you drive by, but somebody goes, oh my gosh, this is where this native group did this, or this is where Napoleon did it. That's fantastic. Life's just more interesting. The other issue is when you have more tools, you have more options and opportunities. One of my favorite sayings is, if all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. Some of knowing is when you don't know and finding the tool or the info you need to succeed. Try tearing a house down with a screwdriver. I mean, you can do it, but it's the wrong tool. And knowing and using the right tool means you do much less damage to yourself and others when doing anything. Try fixing a tire with nothing but a hammer. You can do it, but it makes a mess, and it does a lot of damage. What physical and mental and social tools will you need in your life? You don't know, because you can't predict the future. So this is where more is better. You may not care about Spanish, but you will when you meet Jose or Carlita, right? Be prepared. Be prepared. If there's a job choice between you and somebody else, and that other person knows Spanish, and you're fairly equal, guess who's getting the job? The person who knows Spanish. This is what a liberal education for you can do. I have a friend who's a philosopher, social worker. Now, he's a philosopher friend of mine in school. He now is a social worker, and one of the things he did when he went to his job was he knew about Buddhism, and many of the Laotian people he was working with were Buddhists. He didn't have to have any training. He was good to go. He knew something about Buddha and what their fundamental beliefs were. And it was just so helpful, rather than, what's this weird Buddhism thing? What are these people doing? You know, fantastic. More tools mean more opportunities. Less fear of the future, and can bring confidence that I can do this. I can learn and adapt because I've done it before, and I can do it again and again and again. That's the secret to being a teacher. Once we teach you and you have the confidence to teach yourself, we're done and we look like geniuses. I've learned, I've done it, I can do it again. Humble and confident. Nice. You can gently get things done. You're laid off, you can meet the challenge of a new job. I can do it. I've done it before. I can learn again. Being an unknowledgeable blowhard only works in politics, and actually not very well there either, since power, more than other aspects of leadership, may be at work. Democracy works from the ability to adapt, to understand, to cooperate, and share, and compromise to get larger goods. A wider field of knowledge can only make you a better political thinker. Knowing history and being a healthy skeptic who researches claims make you a better voter and citizen. You are a more interesting person, a better voter, a better father, worker, neighbor, relative, teacher, consumer, doctor, partner, and are more likely to be reasonably experimental when you are liberally educated. At least those things are more likely. Look, we're all here to grow until we die. What else? No one wants to feel powerless, limited, or like a potted plant. Knowing is associated with feeling less fearful, competent, and alive. So years from now, when it's time to go, you can say, I did it. I'm tired. It's okay to lay my burden down. I enjoyed my life. I would do it all again. I worked hard. Not everything went as planned, but enough of it did. I'm satisfied. I left more than I took. I missed no opportunity, because I mindfully engaged as consciously as I could to learn even from my errors and mistakes, and to be ready to engage all of my life and its opportunities without fear. And I look forward to what's next. Whether that's hot, I think it's going to be hot for me, but whether it's hot or cold or neutral or nothing. A liberal education leads you to a more connected, complicated, and diverse life, full of opportunities. What's not to like? So good luck on your journey. Thoughts, comments, questions?
I really would like to see somebody change a tire with a screwdriver or whatever you said. That would...
Well, having the right tool, I'm going to tell you a story real quick. I have a dentist friend who had to take a cap off one of my teeth, and he went like this. He got excited, and I'm like, why are you so excited? He goes, because I get to use this tool. He's had this tool for years, and it's a little tool that somebody invented that clamps over it, and it has a little weight and and you go, dink! So instead of just wrenching this thing off of he dink! Elegantly, dink! It was like a dancer kind of moving. He was so excited. I'm like, you are a dental nerd, man. This is awesome.
Did it work?
It worked fantastically. Right tool for the right job. Popped off. Wonderful. Go find your tools. Use them. Bye-bye.